What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be looking at Ninjago concept art, which is basically just art for Ninjago, which was just some sort of like drawings that the creators did to come up with some characters and stuff, but were unreleased and were changed for the actual show. So I'm going to be looking at one or sometimes two pieces of art for every season, and it is going to be 6. So let's get into it. First up is the pilot seasons, and this one just stuck out to me so much. This looks so crazy. We see the like Skulkins, some earlier Skulkin designs, which just look, to me personally, they look so much cooler. They just look so much more like heavy metal, like grungy type thing, and I feel like if Ninjago went this route, it would have turned into like a really dark, gritty show and would have taken a completely different turn very early on. We can see like Samukaya has like a sword like in his head, it looks like, and then like all the skulls have like even which here it'd be like Cruncha and Knuckle, but like Knuckle, if you can tell there, who's called now Captain Cranium, even has like a bit of exposed like green brain, which is really crazy. Like this art just looks so cool. Like I would have loved to see Ninjago take this route, in my opinion. Next is Season 1, Rise of the Snakes. Now this is a concept art of what looks to be scales, most likely. And he's got his serpentine staff, which actually has a spike on the end that time, which is pretty cool. You can see the like Hypnobrai eyes there, like the flaps coming out of the head, like the long tail. And you can even see at the end, which I guess they changed for the actual show, he's got a little shaker on the end of his tail like some like rattlesnakes have. But I guess they might have changed that for the show, but that looks really cool. This is some pretty cool concept art, like sketch for scales. Pretty cool. Next up for Season 2, this is basically like some 3D concept art for the Garmadon mech that he used to like chase the ninja out of the camp. Which this, honestly, like, this looks really similar to what it looked like in the show. This isn't really much change in the concept. But it is pretty cool to see like how they draw 3D. The one on the left actually looks a lot more 3D than the one on the right, but it is pretty cool to see. If you look on the left one, down at the very bottom, there's a figure which they use for, most likely they use for scale, which is pretty cool in my opinion. It is cool to see this art. I really like it. Next is Season 3 Rebooted, which is basically just like sort of like a sketch of what the new Ninjago city was going to look like, most likely. And we could see like the similar roads, but we can see a lot bigger buildings, brighter lights, and we can see some like early concepts for like which I guess they didn't use as much in the final iteration, but some like sky roads, like roads that were like really high up in the sky, super digital. And we can even see back there like Cyrusborg's tower, Borg Tower, which is pretty cool, with some lights all around it. That is pretty cool to see, honestly. Next is some Season 4 Tournament of Elements concept art, which looks pretty cool in my opinion. We can see one of the paddle steamers that Chen and Klaus used to bring the Elemental Masters to the island, which is pretty cool. This looks pretty similar to the final sketch, like to the final thing for the show, so that's pretty cool. But I do really like the sketch here, in that Chen's like Noodle House logo is actually like on the water. That's pretty cool. But yeah, I really like this Season 4 concept art. This one is like crazy. It is some Season 5 Possession concept art of, I guess, what some of the ghosts would have looked like. We can see kind of to the right like the little ghosts with the little different hats and stuff, which look pretty cool. But then we've got like all these different characters. We got this giant one here with like 4 arms and giant sticks, which probably would have been like a big fig. We've got this one that looks like a lady with like a mask on and a sword. one guy that's like floating and just has like a spine, no legs, which he looks really cool. And then there's like one spider lady. She's got like 4 arms coming out of her back with her additional 2 arms, with like this giant crown on. And then this one down at the bottom left, which I think looks super sick. It's just like this guy with like looks like skates on, maybe, with like a staff with like a ghost on the end of it, a lantern, and like a hat, which just looks, honestly, like looks super sick. Like, I really like the season possession, but ghosts like these would have been super cool to see also. Now we have some season 6 Skybound concept art, which honestly looks pretty cool to me. It's more of just like a rough sketch. We can see the ninja being sucked into the Jin blade, which looks pretty crazy. But we can see Nauticon's like early design, which is pretty similar to what it was in the show, but there was like some different markings on his head and stuff. But honestly, this just looks kind of similar. But if you do look on that sword, it's got some like engravings on it, more like skull on the handles. And then you can even see in the middle of the sword another ninja like asking, like pleading for help, which is just pretty crazy. Pretty crazy concept art. Next is some season 7 Hands of Time concept art, which is actually pretty chaotic and has a lot of differences. We see that Kai and Nia are on another dragon, but this one's just a fire dragon, which looks pretty interesting. Another thing is that the time blades are all blue and they're shaped like a jade blade from season 4. And we can also see that the ninja are in their possession suits and not their Hands of Time suits. And the Hands of Time actually have green hair, so that's just a really interesting concept art right there. Next is the season 8 Sons of Garmadon concept art, which is basically like the poster that we originally got, except it's got a Lloyd bike with the mask of Vengeance. I got it. It's Vengeance with a Mr. E bike, but it's got like a Lloyd bike, which is interesting. And then a more like better looking like image of Garmadon in the background, which is just kind of interesting in my opinion. Next is a season 9 Hunted concept art. We can see like the Iron Baron kind of like in the background, it looks like, but we actually don't see any ninja in here, but we see some like temples and stuff, some different like chains and stuff, some other dragon hunters with some water all around them, it looks like, with a giant sort of like rock dragon, which looks pretty cool. This is season 10 March of the Oni concept art, and this looks pretty sick, pretty dark in my opinion. Like, we've got like this crazy looking Oni here with like a more realistic face, like sort of like a mask on type thing. Looks pretty crazy in my opinion, with like the ninja up there. Looks like a pretty cool little duo. I would have loved to see something like this in season 10. Next we have season 11 concept art, and I included one from each. So we have one from the ice chapter and one from the fire chapter. For the fire chapter, it's just something similar to when they were in the hot tub, which is just pretty cool. Pretty cool little art there. We see Master Wu getting angry, but it does look a bit different. They just seem to be like partying more, which is pretty cool. And then for the ice chapter, when we see Lloyd facing off against a different looking version of the Ice Emperor and a different looking Ice Temple, and then it seems like General Vex has more of like a hat on, assuming that that's General Vex. But the ice chapter art looks pretty crazy, and I really do like the fire chapter art. It's pretty cool. Next is some season 12 Prime Empire concept art, and I just had to include both because I love them both so much. I love the red visor type of designs here. We've got like some like full mask ones, like the even the like sushi roll looks more deadly. There's like the red visor with like the hat, which looks like super cool, and then we can see one of the whack rats top right, which looks pretty crazy. And then like this just purple guy with like a red visor mask on, which is pretty cool in my opinion. I just love that art there. And then the suits on the other concept art, we can see like just the arcade machines But I love the like suits we got here. Like those look like some really cool suits. I would have loved to see some like virtual reality type things on their masks. That would have been sick. Next is this season 13 Master of the Mountain concept art, which looks pretty crazy in my opinion. I really like it. We got Cole with a different looking suit, but still looks pretty cool with one of the supposedly the blade of one of the blades of deliverance. We can see the skeletons like climbing up that path, like trying to get to Cole. And we can see that they have a bit different of a design. Like some of them have ponytails, some of them don't have anything on. Some of them even have helmets. And then we can see on sort of like the more top left side, we can see the skull sorcerer right there with the, actually instead of like a bright green skull, it is a white skull with his like mask on and like more dragon type wings, which is pretty cool. And then we can see the skull sorcerer dungeon in the background there, which is pretty sick. Next is this the island concept art, which is basically like an earlier form of Twitchy. I keep saying Twitchy, and I don't know why I keep saying Twitchy. It's Zippy. It's Zippy. It's a earlier concept art of Zippy, which looks pretty cool. He's got like more of like a gray underbelly with just like more of a top cyan part, which like the end result ended up being like completely cyan, so that was definitely a bit different. But we can see the it's a bit different because one of the keepers is actually riding on the top when Zippy was actually friends with the ninja in the actual show, so that was actually pretty interesting concept art there. Next is this super cool season 15 or season 14, whatever you want to call it, Seabound concept art with a much larger, much crazier, scarier looking version of Wojira, which just looks like super crazy. Like there's just tails and like broken ships everywhere. Like I would have loved to see this in the actual show. It just looks like so much grittier, so much darker, just like so crazy. Like you can see the tail, it's going everywhere. It's like an infinite snake, which is just super crazy. When the end result, Wojira ended up being just, I mean, it wasn't like terribly long, but it wasn't short, but it was like not as long. It was pretty, this is some pretty crazy concept art. Finally is this crystallized concept art for the Temple of the Crystal King, which I guess like before they decided that it was going to be a floating island, they were trying to make like a crazy like crystal temple, and this is sort of just like a rock formation that goes all the way up to like with crystals forming at the bottom and going up, which just, this honestly looks super sick. And there looks to be multiple buildings on the way up, which would have been pretty cool to see, because I bet that it'd be like the ninja going up that thing and proceeding to just like go through all those different challenges, basically sort of like Prime Empire, just going through the different challenges, which would have been a cool different take on Crystallized, which I would have liked to see. That was some super cool concept art, but sorry guys if I sounded a bit sick in this video, but yeah, that was some really cool concept art. But thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.